We begin our story with Kale on his journey. We see him catching some fish when suddenly, without any warning, a person appears above him and asks him the question that will change his life forever. Are you interested in something called magic or what? As you know, our guy is just living his life and doesn't understand anything about it. But as the days pass, we see this person start training Kale to use his magical power. He learns that he must focus his power and start concentrating on the target in front of him. He tells him, "You must prepare yourself because one day you will surely be able to use barrier magic. One day there will surely be innocent people in danger, and you must save them by any means necessary." After preparing the spell, he tells him to take a breath and release it calmly. When Kale starts following the instructions, he manages to execute them and burns the target in front of him. He is extremely excited and thanks his teacher, whose name is, by the way, Addis. They realize that today's spell was a bit difficult because it took him almost the whole day. The teacher, Addis, is a saint. He says, "By the way, teacher, the spell you used today normally takes people a full month to learn." Our guy isn't really interested in this talk and says, "So what? Come on, what's next? I want you to teach me some cool spells, dude." Teacher Addis tells him that's enough for today, and from tomorrow they will continue their training together as he wishes. Kale is about to object, but Addis tells him he shouldn't rush. "You like fishing, right? Let's go fishing together for a bit." After a few moments, we see them sitting in front of the lake fishing. Kale isn't happy with this situation because for him, fishing is very boring and he wants to learn more magic. The teacher starts praising him, saying, "You are truly a talented person. During the period I didn't teach you anything, I was sure you would become a great sorcerer in the future." He starts explaining that there is something called a magic shield that can protect you so you can move forward. But Kale says, "I don't understand you. You keep going in and out of the subject. Why did you even teach me magic?" Just as he is about to answer, the fishing line snaps because it caught a fish. Teacher Addis, being who he is, doesn't know how to handle it, so we see Kale step in to help. Even though you have awesome magic skills, you can't even catch a fish. After a few attempts with the stubborn fish, they finally manage to pull it out, but in the process, both of them fall to the ground. The days pass, and we see Addis begin to teach Kale all the magical spells he can teach him. We see him give him a huge thick book full of spells. So the days pass for them again until the fateful day arrives, the day Kale never imagined he would bid farewell to his teacher. Before leaving, teacher Addis tells him, "Be careful, teacher. If you get the chance to become a royal sorcerer, don't do it." Of course, he doesn't understand why he's saying this and starts asking, "Why did you even teach me magic?" He simply says, "Because it was a debt I owed your mother and it had to be repaid one day." From that moment we see the teacher bidding farewell to his excellent student and deciding to leave him. He walks away. A few years pass like a flash, and we see Kale has grown up and managed to enter the Royal Magic Academy. He is in the library starting to look through the records until he finds the biography of his teacher. We learn that he graduated first in his entire class. He says, "That's to be expected from my teacher, Jumboticha." It didn't stop there for him. No, he became an imperial sorcerer, but unfortunately after that he was exiled from the country, and to this day the reason is unknown. And from here he understands why his teacher was sad when he bid him farewell. If the problem is truly with the imperial court, then I must become an imperial sorcerer and completely change the system. And that's why I must do everything I can, because for me, this is the best way through which I can repay his favor. And suddenly a time skip happens, and we see Kale is in one of the dungeons with a group of adventurers. Their leader starts talking to him and informs him that from today he is expelled. Of course, Kale is shocked when he hears this and says, "What do you mean, man? This is nonsense." But the leader says, "You are expelled from the team as of today. You are expelled." We learn that the person in front of him is actually the crown prince of the kingdom. As for the girl, her name is Lin. As for the third one, his name is Ak. The leader starts talking to him saying, "Wait a minute, shouldn't you explain to me now what your role in the team is?" He says to him, "Wasn't I supposed to support you with my magical power?" He says to him, "God enlighten you. What exactly did you do in the last battle we were in?" He reminds him of the events of the last battle. The crown prince had to fight on the front lines himself. As for Lin, she was using her magical powers to defeat the enemies. As for X, he was the steadfast shield that blocked all the attacks. As for you, all you did was use some enhancement magic. Someone of your level shouldn't be using imperial level magic. He cuts him off and tries to explain what he was doing, but he says, "Shut up, not a word, you are a weak, pitiful person." Lin starts talking to them, saying, "There's no need for us to continue more than this. We should return now. Your words are considered an admission that you are afraid to delve deeper into this dungeon. It's very unwise for us to allow someone like you to join a royal team like ours. We should have discussed your joining the team amongst ourselves first, but our order, being kind-hearted, was the one who included you. And frankly, I'm fed up with clearing dungeons with a pitiful, useless person like you." Then he starts talking to them and says, I heard you excelled in the Magic Academy and through that managed to obtain the rank of Imperial Sorcerer. But in the end you are now incapable of doing anything without the help of others. He says to him, calm down, teacher, let's talk calmly with each other. But he says to him, shut up, what is that beside you? Oh right, he says to him, it's nothing, just a dagger. The Crown Prince draws the dagger from him and says, didn't I tell you before that it's not allowed for commoners like you to hold weapons? Kale confirms that they need it in the advanced floors. The Crown Prince grabs him by the neck and says, as long as you are a member of my team, you cannot carry out anything but my orders. That's why I strongly object to someone like you continuing in our team. He forcefully removes the cloak he is wearing, which bears the Imperial Magic emblem, and says, you don't deserve it anyway. Kali is shocked by what happened to him. The world suddenly turned black before his eyes. As for the Crown Prince, before deciding to leave him and walk away, he informs him, we no longer require your services from today. After that, he decides to leave him and walks away. But despite all that happened to him, Kale is still continuing his studies, hoping the situation will change. He learns that in the advanced floors of any dungeon there are anti-magic barriers, so he decides to write a list of the tools they must use to reach the advanced floors. We see him doing all this hoping to rebuild trust between them and have it renewed. The next day my friend Kale goes to the Imperial Palace, but here the guards prevent him from entering altogether. They inform him that from today, he is no longer an Imperial Sorcerer, and his rank has been revoked. You know that commoners cannot enter the royal castle without a royal order. And suddenly, while he is standing there, he sees Lin arriving. She says to him, you're an idiot, man, and you don't understand. You've been expelled from the team permanently. You've become a person, my dear, with no importance. As for the record radiation you managed to create when you were studying in the Royal Academy in the capital, it turns out it has no importance because the deepest floor any person has managed to reach is the 7th. As for you, you claimed you reached the 68th floor, which is almost impossible. Despite all the insults he is subjected to, he approaches her to make one final request. He gives her a letter and asks her to deliver it to the king. I only joined the Crown Prince's team because of a personal request from him. He asks her to deliver this letter to the king because it will help the prince in his new mission. She sees Lin approaching him and taking the letter from him, but she laughs a malicious laugh, and then she tears it up and throws it in his face, saying, what? Stop being naked and wasting time for nothing. She orders the guards to remove him from the place. Of course, Kale, seeing all that happened to him, is shocked and can't believe it. At the end of the day, we see him standing in front of the palace from afar. It's been 4 years since I graduated from the Imperial Academy and did everything I could to try to change the Imperial Court, but unfortunately, I couldn't change it. This makes him feel sad, and he apologizes to his teacher Addis for not being able to keep his promise. While he is standing there lost in thought, he is surprised by a girl calling out to him. The moment he sees this girl, his face shows signs of shock. Without any introduction, we see this girl running towards him and hugging him. This girl, my friend, is named Yuri, or they are old friends. They sit and chat with each other for a while. Here, Kale begins to tell her about everything that happened to him recently. We learn that the two haven't met for 4 years. He starts telling her that the moment he saw her, he started telling her his problems. She says to him, you know what, forget about that dirty talk. Anyway, I'll be in the mother city tomorrow. They are still working with the old list that distinguishes between commoners and nobles and all that stuff. It has become useless. He tries to stop her because it might cause her problems as long as she is here like this. She says, I don't care, by the way, there's no one around us anyway. She says to him, look, even though you've been through a tough time, I am very happy. After that, she starts reminding him of the promise he made to himself 4 years ago to rejoin their team again one day. He says to her, yes, I remember that. She says to him, exactly. That's why I came to the capital today, to bring you back and have you join the team again. Suddenly she stands up, stands and extends her hand to him, offering to enter the dungeon together again. Kale is moved by these words and says to her, by the way, I've become unimportant after losing my position. But she says to him, it doesn't matter. All that dirty talk, what really matters to me, is for you to return to the team. I assure you that all the team members have been waiting for this day impatiently. But in case you wanted to keep your position and return to the Imperial Court, no one among us will stand in your way or prevent you. Our friend, hearing these words, is extremely moved, and so he agrees to return with her. She says, I knew you'd return, man. After that, we see Kale starting to remember the memories of the past related to his teacher. He warned me a lot, even if the opportunity arose, not to join the Imperial Court again. Suddenly we see him waking up from sleep. It turns out it was all a dream. On the other hand, in the Imperial capital, specifically with the Crown Prince, news has arrived that Kale left the city 5 days ago and is returning to the northern city. He says he must have run away. I also heard he became an adventurer. The reason Kale joined the team in the first place was that this prince was somewhat curious because of the rumors that he was the best student in the entire history of the academy. That's why he was curious about him and wanted to see him. But in the end it turned out that this paper, we learned that they are now planning to enter one of the very dangerous dungeons, of course. So the prince's name spreads everywhere in the world, and we leave them for now and return to Kay. We see he has arrived at the northern city. This city is nicknamed the City of Dungeons because it is full of adventurers and dangerous dungeons. This is the most suitable place for adventurers, and they can do everything they want there. She starts talking to our friend and lets him know they are now working on the Western Ruins. For you to join our team, the first thing we must do is join the Adventurers Guild. My heart? Let me be very excited because their great adventure will start from here. But the moment they enter the Adventurers Guild, the shock awaits them. The employee there informs them that Kay is not allowed to join their team because he doesn't have a license. He starts asking, what is this license you're talking about? They learn that to join the teams he wants to join, one must have surpassed the 30th floor. For anyone to be able to pass that floor, they must have a permit proving they have been an adventurer for at least 2 years. Yura starts talking to the employee saying, wait a minute, wasn't Chris supposed to have reached us and started resolving this issue with you? I'm sure before I left. She told me she would handle this matter herself. The employee confirms to her that Chris did come and told her everything. She says, you know what, forget the bureaucracy and all the nonsense you're spouting. Give me the license and forget about this dirty talk, and that's it. After our friends find out what happened, they are utterly shocked and confirm that it's impossible for them to obtain the license. They leave the Adventurers Guild. The girl starts blaming herself for being stupid. She should have handled the matter herself and not sent an incompetent person like that. She starts talking to him and lets him know that they managed to reach the 52nd floor in the dungeon. Frankly, I can't wait for us to wait 2 years for you to join the team with us. She says to him, it doesn't matter. The most important thing now is that we start from the place we can all start from anew. He says he has no problem with that. Indeed, my friend, we see the two decide to head together to one of the forests, and suddenly they are surrounded from all directions by insects. It's clearly a tricky situation, and suddenly we see Yura starting to showcase one of her magical skills, which makes her very fast, and she easily destroys the first insect. After that, she starts finishing them off one after another, and her speed is something insane. Yura starts talking to Kay, saying, look, I thought this trip would be simple and we could finish it in a few hours. I didn't expect this many monsters to be waiting for us. But Kale says to her, don't worry, I'm sure something happened in the forest, that's why all these insects are in this place. She says to herself, I never expected that the two of us would one day get stuck on the 2nd floor and not be able to get out easily. And so Yura doesn't hold back and activates her defensive magic and starts advancing forward to start finishing off all these insects by herself. But Kale objects and tells her she can't do that. They must cooperate with each other. But she says, there's no need for that talk because until now you haven't been able to regain your full strength. As for me, these insects don't cause me any problems, I'm sure I can handle them easily. And since we are friends, it's my duty to protect you in your time of weakness. Because of this situation, Cole starts remembering his teacher's words when he said, you must use that power of yours to save your friends. And from here he doesn't hold back and approaches breaking all the restrictions he had placed on himself. He starts bombarding these insects with his shots and finishes them off one after another. The moment she sees this, she is extremely excited. The reason for the intensity was that there were a few insects about to attack him, but she intervenes and manages to finish them off in the blink of an eye. Now he has regained his full strength. We see Yura using one of her spells to give Kay the opportunity to use the strongest spell he possesses. Indeed, he manages to cast it, and the barrier after that strikes the entire place, and the remnants of this awesome spell with his unique style allow him to easily defeat all the insects. You thought it was over? You'd be wrong. Suddenly we see a giant worm emerging from underground and is about to swallow this girl, but she manages to hold onto her staff. So, he confirms that the giant worm is the one behind everything that happened. He starts talking to her and asks her to use enhancement magic on herself. As for him, he unleashes his power and uses fire magic, through which he manages to set this giant worm on fire and sends it to the afterlife. Because of this awesome situation with his unique style teacher, they start reminiscing about the past when they managed to reach the 68th floor for the first time. We see the entire team was in trouble and couldn't do anything with him, but then he arrived and used one of his awesome spells as usual with his unique style, to be able to deal. Our part begins with a flashback from 4 years ago, specifically at the Royal Magic Academy, where the graduation ceremony for ARC's class is being held. But after a few moments our gang arrives at the place. They start announcing that they have achieved a new feat. They managed to reach the 68th floor and defeated the floor boss. Of course, all the students are in an uproar, unable to believe what happened, because the highest floor anyone had reached before was the 37th. As for our guys, They go to receive their certificates. We see that the first one named Sharon managed to get 4th place in the class. As for Chrysia, she managed to get 3rd place. As for Yuria, she managed to get 2nd place. And finally, last but not least, the one who deservedly got 1st place is Ark. Each of them receives their certificate. As they are about to leave the academy, they decide to form an adventurer team together here. Ark suddenly stops and tells them that he intends to join the Imperial Court. Even though they all wished he would continue with them to form a great team together, they don't stand in his way and tell him he is welcome to rejoin the team anytime, confident that they will have some adventures together someday. Anyway, we cut back to the present day and we see Ark with Yuria drinking in a tavern. She tells him he must celebrate today with a clear conscience because it's his return party to the team. There's no room for slacking like before, especially since the last spell he used during their mission together almost backfired, and Ark says to her, "I was sure nothing like that would happen because of my defensive magic." Yuria says to him, "Yes, I know that, but you still have to be careful. It's clear that she's already tipsy after the first glass of liquor she drinks." She slumps over the table and falls fast asleep. Ark isn't surprised that this idiot hasn't changed since the last time. Every time she comes to drink liquor, she passes out like this. He uses his magical power to put her cloak on her shoulder. He is surprised when someone talks to him. "It's clear you're an adventurer, but you're not from this city. Everyone here is just a bunch of ruffians, and such behavior doesn't come from them." But our friend ignores him and doesn't pay any attention, which makes the man very angry. He says, "You are an impolite person, that's why I'll teach you a lesson myself." He decides to smash a bottle over his head, but who does he think he's dealing with? Ark managed to use his magical power to protect himself. The man says, "Oh, I'm surprised by you." Before he could say anything else, Ark looks at him and realizes the man starts talking to him and calling him by his name as if he knows him. "From what I know, you are an imperial mage. I'm very surprised that someone from the elite mages like you is in a lowly place like this." Suddenly, we see him take something out of his pocket and place it in front of him. The moment Ark sees it, he is shocked. It's the permit he wanted to get from the guild. The man says, "Consider this my apology for what I did to you. But be careful, I have one condition for you to take." Ark says, "Wait a second, I don't understand, explain clearly." He says, "There's nothing to it, all I want is to see your magical power." Ark is surprised by this guy. He seems strange and suspicious. He starts asking him, "And who are you?" Suddenly Yuria starts to stir. The moment she sees the man, she is shocked because he is the guild master. She starts asking, "What are you doing here? Did you come to drink liquor?" Ark says, "Wait, are you really the guild master or is this girl drunk? No, you can come with me now and check everything." And indeed, after a few moments we see they are in an underground combat arena. The guildmaster starts talking to Ark, explaining that they usually use this place to test teams that want to raise their rank. Ark says to him, "So, let me understand, you brought me here just to test my skills, nothing more." He says, "Exactly. All you have to do is amaze me with your magical power." Yuria intervenes and objects to this, but here Ark stops her and says he agrees, because his magical power hasn't run out yet. This is a perfect opportunity for him to catch up with them, get the permit and enter the same missions with them. Yuria says, "Enough, really, we can't waste any more time than this." After that we see Ark and the guildmaster standing in the combat arena, each preparing in their own way. The man says, "Look, my friend, let me introduce myself first. I am Level, the guildmaster." Ark says, "Wait a second, that name sounds somewhat familiar to me. I think you are the powerful mage who managed to form an S-rank team before, right?" The guildmaster says, "Correct, but that was a long time ago." After moments of observation and preparation from both sides, we see Ark take the first step and begins to attack him with ice magic. It wasn't easy, but the guildmaster dodges it with ease. After that he starts gathering his magical energy and prepares to attack him. But who is he dealing with? Ark, the son of a dragon, manages to dodge it easily and starts to assess the situation. He realizes the guildmaster has the advantage at long distances, so he decides to close the distance. But at the same moment we see the guildmaster start using multiple spells on himself to enhance his movement and strengthen his body. A punch misses Ark's side. Ark is standing there not understanding anything, but the guildmaster doesn't stop there. He starts running around him in every direction. At the first moment of distraction, he decides to lunge at him. But Ark had anticipated this and managed to activate a magical barrier. That wasn't enough, because the guildmaster manages to break through it and slams him into the wall. Of course Yuria is very worried about him when she sees this. As for the guildmaster, he starts praising Ark and says, "By the way, you're not bad." Our friend gets up from the ground and says, "Now I'm sure you were an S-rank adventurer before." This makes him start thinking about how to avoid his attacks. I finally realize this idiot understands that he left the Imperial Court, meaning he isn't bound by any restriction. He starts laughing to the point that the guildmaster is surprised by him. He says, "Don't be surprised because I was always holding myself back with restrictions, and now I am, so to speak, a free person, so I'll use all my power with ease." The guild master says, great, bring what you've got. Come on. Ark says, it doesn't need that, and starts activating his magical power on his wrists, turning them into a sword. The guild master is taken aback at first. You managed to use a shield, and now you're making a sword. You really are an amazing person and have many things you need to show me later. We see Ark is the one who initiates the attack this time. When the guildmaster tries to attack him, he manages to dodge one of them and blocks the second one. This makes the guildmaster very pleased with him and says, it's over, my friend. I think you can now withstand my attacks. Ark says, yes, I can do that, but it will be difficult. But more important than that, I must know exactly where your attacks are coming from. When the guildmaster decides to lunge at him again, he manages to find the right moment and activates lightning magic, slamming it into him. Not only that, he also decides to strike him directly with the magical sword. And if you think all of this is enough to defeat an S-rank guildmaster, you are mistaken. The guildmaster is standing like a lion and starts talking to him. He says, I'm very amazed that you managed to analyze all the magical attacks in such a short time. It's clear Yuria didn't waste her time with you. Because of that, he decides to use all his power this time, because he has truly started to enjoy the fight with him. After moments of hesitation, he starts to activate his magical artifact, which is a pair of magical gauntlets. He says, come on, my friend, let's play together a bit. Bring everything you've got, come on. After that, he lunges at him and Ark is amazed by his power, which has increased greatly. He is sure that if he hadn't dodged those attacks, he would have been finished. And the guildmaster gets up from the ground and says, no, I don't want you to bring out more quickly. I want to enjoy myself with you a bit. Ark says to him, give. At that, he attacks him with lightning, but all of this is useless because the guild master absorbs it with ease, to the point that he closes in on him and lands a direct punch on him. If he hadn't been able to block it with his shield magic, he would have been beaten to a pulp by now. The guild master says, don't get cocky. Why on purpose? You won't succeed in this test as long as you keep running away from me. After that, he starts activating his gauntlet. Here, Yuria realizes the situation and starts warning Ark, telling him that the gauntlets the guildmaster possesses allow him to use healing magic. Meaning, if they don't stop him now, he will regain all his power, and after that, he won't be able to do anything against him. Because of that, Ark tries not to allow him to heal himself and closes in to attack him with consecutive strikes, but despite all this, it doesn't affect the guildmaster in any way. He says, don't get cocky. If you continue in the same manner, you won't be able to do anything to me. But when he also tries to lunge at him, Ark seizes the opportunity and lands a solid blow on his body. This makes him furious, and he starts attacking him as well. This time, Ark is aware of the dangerous situation because if he takes a direct hit, he probably won't be able to continue fighting. He starts dodging them one after the other. After the guildmaster manages to get close to him and was about to land one on his head, we see that Ark manages to block it with his arm. This is the perfect opportunity for him, and he decides to thrust his sword into his body. All of this is useless because the guildmaster is furious and lands a blow on his head so powerful that it shakes the entire place. Of course, Ark isn't easy. The moment the dust clears, he appears from behind it and decides to attack him and deliver a fatal blow. But unfortunately, the staff he was holding breaks. As a result, his magical power completely collapses and he falls to the ground unconscious. Here, Yuria approaches him to see what will happen to him and realizes that he has reached his limits. As for the guildmaster, he was about to announce his decision, but someone intervenes. Yuria says, wait, what's wrong with you, you lowlife? What were you doing just now? You were enjoying yourselves. I can't believe an S-rank adventurer like you was forced to use his strongest techniques, barely able to fight this trash thrown on the ground. But the guildmaster says to her, what are you talking about? Shut up. I already considered him to have passed the test from the beginning. But the whole point was, I just wanted to play with him a little. He can take his permit with all ease and enter the dungeons you're entering with you. After that, we see Rim approaches Ark and says, did you hear, my friend? You won the bet. Wait a second. You look like you're in a coma and can't hear anything I'm saying to you. After that, they take him to the guild so he can start resting. After Rim talks with Yuria, he finds out that Ark had been suffering in the royal court all this time. Before this fool wakes up, I want to know from you everything he went through. She says, that's a long story that takes a long time to explain. The guildmaster intervenes and starts mocking them. He says, I heard that this trash was expelled from the team he was in. He says yes, because those wretched people don't allow any commoner to be in the royal court. The most important thing to them is trivial things like lineage and status. I'm sure if I were in his place, I would have gone crazy from the first day. He is surprised that Ark was able to endure all that talk for 4 years alone. Meanwhile, Yuria is looking at him for no reason. He starts getting angry at her. What is it? I don't have any reason other than that I agree with the opinion you're saying. What are they fighting with each other? We see a guild employee hits him on the head. She starts calling for the guildmaster and informs him that a disaster has happened and she needs him with her now. She doesn't know he is here with them in the room, so he hits her on the head and takes her from her mouth and tells them to leave. Before he leaves, he warns him not to go near the liquor because if he drinks it, it will have a bad effect on him. He ignores his words and isn't interested and goes to drink the liquor he wants. After that, he starts talking with Yuria. He says, "Look, I have enough time and I want to hear Ark's story from beginning to end." After she tells him about all the injustice he faced, he says, "What do you mean? What was he doing? He was entertaining the crown prince. And on top of that, he wasn't allowed to carry magic on any mission. He was forced to carry their bags." "What kind of nonsense are they talking about?" she says. "That's what happened. And besides, I am also as angry as you are. Not only that, they said the support magic that you said he possesses is useless." He is shocked. "Wait a second, what support magic? He wasn't using support magic before?" She says, "Just as you heard, he was forced to learn this magic from the beginning by himself, even though he has no talent for this type of magic." She says, "Look, teacher, regardless of anything, I am very happy for you now. His defense magic has become great, you'll see." He isn't interested in all this talk, and every time he starts thinking about what happened to his friend, he becomes furious. After a few moments, we see Ark finally begins to wake up from the coma he was in. He starts asking them where they are and what they are doing exactly. Yuria reassures him that they are at the guild. After that, she takes out the permit for him and congratulates him on managing to obtain it. He says, "Awesome, perfect. So now I'm allowed to enter the dungeons with you as you." But Rim says, "Wait, that's not it. Before anything, we must take revenge." Of course, these two are on the same page with their story. He doesn't understand what he's talking about. "The first thing we must do is storm the private palace of that son of a. Up to that son of a miser, catch him and beat the hell out of him." But Ark says to him, "By the way, teacher, I'm not angry, half as angry as you are." But Rim says, regardless of anything, you can't accept the situation without any resistance. But Ark tells him that what he wants to do is forbidden because teams aren't allowed to fight among themselves. After that, he approaches him and says, "Look, teacher, you have to let go of all this and we should start enjoying our adventure to the fullest. This will be the most suitable revenge against the crown prince. Who else?" He starts thinking about his words and says, "You are right. We must indeed become the strongest adventurers present here in the world. With me, the moment that son of a miser the crown prince finds out that we have become the strongest adventurer team in the world, and you are one of us, he will surely become furious. If his city falls into trouble one day, he will come to us like a dog, child or despicable coward, begging for help, and I will be very happy at that moment to say no to him and hit him just like he did to you." Ark says, "Done, I'm with you, teacher. The idea of us becoming the strongest adventurers in the world next to you is better than me just being angry at the crown prince. And after that, we leave them for now, my friend." We go to another scene also at the same guild, but we see that he is literally bruised all over from the guild master. That girl is from a team that is all S rank. And since he is now standing in a problem, the rest of the members of my team are all in a predicament. Immediately, we see the guildmaster convenes an emergency meeting for most of the members present here. He says, "Look guys, the first thing they must do is assemble a rescue team to go save the rest of Krista's team." He starts giving them important rescue details. This team is currently trapped on the 64th floor. The pressure is very high, and not just anyone can enter it. On the other side, we have Ark, who is sitting there, and is surprised when a girl arrives to see him. The moment he sees her, he is surprised. Yes, it's her, Krishia, his friend who was with him at the same institute. He starts asking her about her condition, but she says, "Be quiet, I'm supposed to ask about you. You look completely battered. Are you really that bad? Since there's a meeting happening right now at the guild, why didn't you go with them?" "No, it's because they requested all the adventurers here at the guild who are from rank A and above, and I'm basically an outsider to them. Our friend is completely battered." We see she starts channeling her magical power and begins to heal all his wounds. After she finishes, she says, "Look, I won't ask you where you've been all this time or what you were doing. If something is bothering you, you can talk to me as much as you want." Ark says to her with all honesty, "Until now, I haven't been able to get rid of the restrictions I acquired in the royal palace, and that's what still makes me feel afraid. I know the adventurers here aren't like the nobles, but in the beginning and the end, I still feel like a stranger to them." But Krishia approaches him and says, "Don't worry, teacher, we are with you." Suddenly, we see the rest of the gang arrives to them. He starts talking to them, informing them that they have an urgent matter on the burner. To go to the western dungeon to rescue an S-rank team that is currently trapped on the 64th floor. Now the goal is for them to reach the team trapped on the 64th floor of the dungeon. If they were going down the normal way, it would have been impossible for them to arrive in time. But luckily they have something that will make the mission much easier. This thing was given to them by the guild master and it's called the dungeon core. This is a magical tool that lets you skip the bosses on the previous floors up to the specific floor where the core was found. This is the very core that Christina brought back with her, meaning they can use it to easily open the path up to the 64th floor. But despite this, they must remain very cautious. The boss of the 64th floor is known to be a monster like a zombie, meaning half alive and half dead. Therefore, they will rely primarily on Alec to kill it with his offensive magic. That's why the whole team tells him to conserve his energy as much as possible until they face the boss. But Alec asks them, sounding a bit worried, so does that mean I won't participate with you in the fight? Orange told him with full confidence, yes, that's the best solution. We can't risk you or deplete your energy, and we don't want it to run out before the real battle. After that, the team used a teleportation spell and instantly moved to the 64th floor. As soon as they arrived, they were surprised by a group of skeletons suddenly emerging towards them. Orange rushed forward quickly and began to skillfully thrust his spear into them without hesitation. Yura shouted, "Wait a moment, Orange! I need to be close to you to cast a protective shield for you." But he didn't really need it, judging by the way he was fighting. Meanwhile, Alec and Krisa were walking calmly behind them in the dungeon. Alec said to her, surprised, "I didn't know Orange had a relic piece like Levio's." Krisa told him, "It's not something that serious. It's a spear with 2 enchantments. One makes it extremely sharp and the other makes it unbreakable." She looked at him and said, laughing, "But this type of weapon is more than enough for someone like Orange." After a while, the fight became boring because Orange was finishing off all the enemies by himself before anyone else could even move. Alec said to him, "Do you want me to help you a little? It looks way too easy like this." Orange quickly replied, "Let me finish off these insects by myself. This is my task." Alec and Krisa continued on their way, but suddenly Alec felt something strange. Something was following them in the darkness. He quickly turned around, extended his hand, and unleashed a powerful lightning bolt in the direction he sensed. The others stopped abruptly and asked him, "What's wrong?" Alec said to them, "I felt something was behind me just now, but I can't see it." Orange didn't doubt his words for a moment and said, "Okay, try to pinpoint exactly where and how close it is." Alec closed his eyes for a moment and said, "I can't see it, but I feel it's right in front of me. Exactly." At that moment, he raised his sword, gathered mana energy, and struck forcefully in front. The sword touched something, and at that moment the creature was revealed, a soul reaper emerging. Orange laughed and said loudly, "Clearly your senses are still as sharp as ever, hero." The way Orange spoke made Alec suspect that Orange knew about this creature's existence from the beginning. But to be fair, Orange did know that this floor had invisible monsters, but he had no way to confront them, so he pretended not to know anything and left it to Alec to discover on his own, to boost his confidence. He never received appreciation or trust when he worked as a royal court mage, so the feeling now that the team truly believes in him made him happy for the first time in a long time. But as he finished off the Soul Reaper, he shouted, "But that doesn't mean what you did was right." Krisa and Yura stood embarrassed and said, "We're sorry. We knew there were invisible monsters, but it was Orn's idea. We wanted to see how you would handle it on your own." Krisa laughed and said, "If you're going to yell, yell at Orns, not at us." She then looked at Orns and said sharply, "We need to talk about this as soon as we get back." Then she added, "Let's focus on the mission now and save the team we came for." The team continued their descent and found themselves in a wide corridor full of skeletons, much more than before. Orange smiled enthusiastically and said, "Great, this challenge is my size." Yura quickly said, "We're on a rescue mission, not in a tournament. Calm down a bit." But of course Orange doesn't like to listen when he smells a fight. He shouted, "All of you stay back, this fight is mine." This time Alec refused to leave him alone and said, "I won't let you be reckless again," and joined the fight with him. Yura began using spells to enhance their energy and attack to help them. At first the two were striking the skeletons with incredible speed, but they completely forgot that Yura is weak in combat and doesn't know how to defend herself. One of the skeletons was about to attack her from behind, but luckily Krisa approached and shot an arrow at the last moment, saving her. At that moment Alec apologized to them and said, "I won't take a risk like that again. All of you stay behind me." He stood in front of them and began gathering a strong magical energy. The air around him began to crackle with lightning, and the sound of the energy was terrifying. Alec said in a loud voice, "Everyone behind me," and used his great lightning skill. In an instant, a massive wave of lightning bolts descended, wiping out all the skeletons from the ground. After calm returned, Orn said, laughing, "Now we can continue without anyone holding us up." But before they moved, Orns looked at Alec. "By the way, why do you always use that lightning spell?" he asked, puzzled. "I remember when we were in the academy, you used many different spells and didn't rely on just one type like this." Alec was silent for a moment, remembering when he was in the royal court and the crown prince was always reckless, charging into dungeons without a plan. He was always forced to intervene to save him. He said to himself, from the sheer number of times I had to act quickly, I got used to using lightning because it's the fastest spell to save anyone in any situation. At that moment, they heard a terrifying sound coming from the end of the corridor, a strange sound full of death energy. Yura said fearfully, that sound must be from the floor's boss. Yura said in a tense voice, we need to hurry. Maybe the team upstairs is still alive. Orange said to her, okay, I'll go ahead of you. I'm the fastest among you. And Yura raised her staff and said, all right, I'll cast a speed spell on all of you. In an instant, their bodies glowed with a blue light and they felt a strange lightness. Orange shot forward like an arrow, with the rest running after him with all their energy. Alec, while running, looked at Orange and said with admiration, no matter how many times I see his speed, it remains terrifying, especially when Yura enhances his speed magic. After a while they caught up to him but were surprised to find Orange not fighting. He was sitting on the edge of a rocky cliff, looking down as if watching a movie. Alec approached him and looked down. He saw a man running with a huge monster chasing him from behind. The man was screaming, save me, Orange, help me before it eats me. But Orange was standing there annoyed and it didn't seem like he intended to help. Alec asked him, what's happening? Orange told him, that's a guy named Loki. He's the one we're trying to save. He works as the support for the team we came to rescue. He continued his speech, laughing. Frankly, his personality is annoying and no one likes him. The people with him are good, but he gets on everyone's nerves. Loki from below screamed, if you die, I'll haunt you in your dreams every night, Orange. Orange replied, teasing him, I don't care what you do after you die. Suddenly Loki tripped and fell to the ground. Alex screamed, we need to help him quickly. The monster is about to attack him. But Krisa raised her hand and said calmly, wait, this is normal. It's his fighting style. Alec looked puzzled and was about to ask, but the monster stepped its foot on a magic circle carved on the ground. Instantly fire ignited from beneath it and a pillar of fire struck it in the stomach. Alec looked on in amazement and said, so Loki had set a trap beforehand. Orin said with a smile, yes, that guy is a genius with tricks, even if his personality is irritating. Krisa said, he's indeed unbearable, but on the battlefield he's very clever. The monster started moving again, stepping on more magic circles. With each step a trap exploded. Alex saw that every time it fell into the same trap. Loki was standing there laughing at it like a madman, saying, you idiot, you fall for the same trap every time. After a while the traps ran out and the monster was still alive and well. Then the monster prepared to attack Loki and burn him with a single strike. But before the strike could reach him, Alec, Orange, and Krisa descended at the right moment and saved him. Orange grabbed him by his clothes and pulled him away while the others tried to distract the monster. The monster tried to strike Alec. Alec quickly created a protective shield in front of him, so the strike bounced back and hit the monster. But then the monster turned and ran towards Orange and Loki. The monster seemed to want revenge on Loki, of course, because of all the traps he had set for him. Orange knew he couldn't face the monster while holding Loki, so he threw him into the air towards Krisa and said, take care of him. Yura said to Krisa, take him and get up on the rock quickly. Keep him safe. Krisa said, okay, leave the rest to me, and grabbed him and helped him climb up. Orange then said, now I can fight for real. He looked at Yura and said, prepare all your enhancements for me. I want the maximum possible power. Yura began chanting many spells and the air around her became filled with glowing magical circles. She sent all the energy to Orange. Immediately Orange tightened his grip on his spear and lightning descended on him like an energy shield. He shot like an arrow towards the monster, flipped in the air and easily dodged the first strike. Then he thrust his spear under the monster's. The strike was powerful, but unfortunately it wasn't enough to take it down. The monster kicked him with its leg, sending Orange flying through the air, and he fell to the ground with force. Yura ran to him in fear and checked on him, saying, are you? Before he could answer, the monster raised its leg, about to stomp on them. Yura immediately created a shield to block its attack, and they enclosed themselves in a shield to protect. The monster kept pounding on the shield with its leg. Its leg was very heavy and the shield shook violently with each hit, close to breaking. Yura said, frightened, I can't hold on much longer, Alec. And she said to him, finish it off quick. At that moment Loki, who was watching, saw the scene and was astonished. Is this the legendary mage we've been hearing about? He got very excited and said, I have to see with my own eyes how he fights. Alec was standing, concentrating intensely, and many magic circles began to appear around him. Loki was shocked and said, he's preparing more than 20 spells at the same time. They say anyone who can manage 5 spells is called a genius. Alec knew the monster felt the real danger. The monster began to scream and move quickly to attack him before he could complete his spells. But Orange stood in front of it and said, you shall not pass. He raised his spear and blocked the strike, buying Alec the time he needed. After 1 second, Alec opened his eyes and said in a loud voice, Lightning storm. In an instant, dozens of lightning bolts fell like rain on the monster's body. Then he gathered all the energy into one huge circle and delivered the final blow. A concentrated lightning bolt descended from the sky like a death ray, but the monster jumped at the last moment and managed to dodge part of it. The explosion shook the entire corridor and smoke filled the place. Alec quickly said, "Be careful, it's going to attack again." Orange called out to Krisa and said, "Help us." Krisa raised her bow and fired the arrow rain spell. A cloud of arrows descended above the monster, hindering its movement. Yura seized the moment and threw a magical spell to immobilize the monster. Orange shouted, "It's my turn," and jumped very high into the air and thrust his spear into the monster's brain with all his might. Even though Orange pierced the monster's brain with his spear, the monster was still alive. It raised its huge arm and began preparing for a new attack. Everyone tensed up and Yura screamed, "Watch out, Alec!" The monster launched a huge fireball towards Alec, but Alec stood his ground calmly and said, "Good, I was waiting for this moment." He raised his staff and said in a steady voice, "Spell reflection." In an instant, the attack bounced off him and returned in the same direction with doubled force. The monster was caught off guard and couldn't dodge. The fireball exploded on it, and the entire area around it exploded. The explosion was enormous. Smoke cleared. The monster was completely charred and could barely stand. At that time, Orange jumped down from above with speed and struck it with his spear with all his force, splitting the monster's brain in half. Everyone stood Krisa said, "Finally, we finished it off." Alec wiped the sweat from his forehead and smiled. "Yes, the mission is accomplished." The monster fell to the ground and the light emanating from it disappeared completely. Yura looked around the place and said, "I hope the second team is okay." Loki came down from above, happy, and said in a loud voice, "Bravo to you, heroes. That fight was a masterpiece, especially the genius mage." He said to him with a smile of admiration, "I've heard a lot about you, mage of the kingdom. They say you once defeated a Hydra beast with a single Alec laughed and said calmly, "I was the mage of the kingdom, but not anymore." Loki, of course, was surprised and said, "How? Are the people there crazy or what? To let someone of your talent go?" Alec just gave a simple smile. But Loki continued and said, "I didn't expect anyone to save me, but my team is still below facing the second boss." Orange was surprised and said, "There's a second boss?" Loki said, breathing quickly, "Yes, when we came down here, we discovered that this floor has two bosses. One of them is the one I was fighting, and the second is the one my team is fighting right now. It's a knight wearing black armor, but it doesn't seem alive. It's like an empty suit of armor controlled by an evil magic." Krisa said fearfully, "You mean our physical attacks won't affect it at all?" So Loki said quickly, "Exactly, and that's why we need Alec there. His magic is what can end it." He took out a strange silver cross from his pocket. "Take this piece. It's a relic called Shivar. This piece will help you use your power from up close." Alec took it puzzled and said to him, "You're giving it to me for free, just like that?" Loki laughed and said, "Yes, but with one small condition." Yuri said, "I'm sure there's a catch behind this condition." Loki said to her, "No catch. All I want from you is to fight the upcoming boss without using magic." Everyone was shocked and said in one voice, "You want a mage to fight without magic? How?" Loki said to them, "Just listen to me. That monster is definitely expecting you to attack it with magical spells. If you do the opposite and attack it in a different way, you will subdue it completely." Orange laughed and said, "You really are crazy, Loki, but you might be right in what you said." Alec looked at them and said with a smile, "Let's give it a try." So I wonder what the story of the second boss of the dungeon is,